Hello guys, I'm sorry to inform you, but I've decided to quit philosophy and I'm turning this channel into a car review channel. Sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face. The reason I'm standing in front of this Audi A6 from 2007 is because this is going to be my home for the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I've decided to go on a trip across the south of England. And there's good reason why I'm going on this trip, but I'll tell you all about that later on. Right now, I'm just outside Glastonbury, and I'm going to be making my way northeast towards Cambridge. So I hope some of you find this a little bit interesting. It's very different than my normal stuff, but I hope you enjoy.
And the first thing I set out to do is to look for a bush. No, really, I heard that there was a bush of some significance or other laying in a field overlooking the Tor from the opposite side of the valley. I really did try my best to find the so-called Glastonbury thorn, but I think it may be on land that isn't easily accessible to the public. I've since read about the thorn online, and it appears that it was, like all good things, destroyed by the landowner in 2019. Nevertheless, there is another grafting of the original thorn in a nearby churchyard, so that will have to do. Glastonbury is a town ensconed in the bucolic splendour of Somerset, yet it transcends its geography with its fascinating history and legend, highlighted by the looming Glastonbury Tor and the vernal rites of its well-attended music festival. And in this seemingly unassuming locale resides one legend that melds both history and horticulture. The lore recounts that Joseph of Arimathea, who was esteemed as the custodian of none other than Jesus' burial rites, embarked upon a post-resurrection sojourn to Glastonbury. In a gesture both mundane and miraculous, he planted his staff into the verdant earth of Weriel Hill. Now, under ordinary botanical principles, this staff would simply wither. But this is Glastonbury, and in an extraordinary deviation from vegetative norms, it sprouted forth and blossomed into the Glastonbury thorn tree. This story is documented at least as far back as the year 1520. And this tree was not of a commonplace variety, for the Glastonbury thorn defies seasonal predictability by blooming twice a year, once around Christmas and again around Easter. How very curious indeed. After that, I walked into the town. Glastonbury is a unique town in the United Kingdom, as pretty much everything about it is coloured by New Age spirituality. The people, the shops, and for some, even the water. It's been a settlement since Neolithic times, and has been a site of religious importance since before the emergence of Christianity. Today it serves as a centre of operations for a number of different faiths, including Sufism, Druidism, Hare Krishna, the Baha'i faith, and Eastern Christianity.
So basically, it activates the pineal gland, so it's really good for any kind of visualization.
I didn't get this on camera, but as I was walking back to my car, I passed one of the sacred freshwater springs of Glastonbury, the White Spring, which is connected to a public tap along a lane leading up to the Tor. As I walked past, there was a young chap wearing harem pants and a silly hat, who was holding a little yellow gun. Actually, it was a water pistol, and he was filling it up with the spring water and asking passers-by if they would like a holy baptism. I watched as he failed to convince several walkers to accept his blessing, so as I approached, and he asked me, "Would you like a holy baptism?" I said, "Yes, please." He then proceeded to spray water in my face,
and I said thank you. He said, "You have been blessed," and I continued walking, water dripping off my chin. This is probably a good opportunity to explain what on earth I'm doing driving around the country, sleeping in my car. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, then this might sound a bit strange, but I can only speak as though you are. When I was a teenager, in 2012, I began having profound experiences, and these experiences revealed to me a truth that I was convinced could change the world. Must change the world. I became obsessed with understanding the experience, and this led me to philosophy. I knew that personal experiences and anecdotes cannot be trusted, so I used my insight to formally present resolutions to the disagreements we have within academic philosophy. After 3 years, by 2015, I had developed a new approach called paraphilosophy. In 2019, an academic publisher agreed to publish my work, and for the last year and a half, I've been trying to promote paraphilosophy on the present channel. If you've been keeping up with my videos, you'll also have noticed that I have begun now to talk about the insights that led me to the development of paraphilosophy, and you will be familiar with the distinction I make between righteousness and pleasure. To simplify this significantly, the distinction is between looking inside for the answers versus looking outside for the answers. By looking inwards, I was able to realize some very important things, but it meant that I had to stop looking outwards, and that created a lot of problems in my life. We'll pause here for now and come back to this in a moment. I next stopped a short distance away in Wells, which is the smallest city in England. This is Vickers Close, and it's the oldest original residential street in Europe. The hall was completed in 1348, with the houses following over several subsequent decades. This grand building here is Wells Cathedral. This is why it's a city and not a town, and it was mostly built from between 1175 and 1239, although there has been a church on the site since the year 705. This is a site you're going to see a lot of on this trip, because not only is it a chain of pubs that is always generous with the electrical outlets on display, but also it offers what I suspect might be the cheapest pint in the country, less than half of what you'll find anywhere else, at under £3. If you're watching from across the pond, this is a Wetherspoons, a national treasure, and there's about 1,000 of them scattered across England. After doing a couple of hours of work, I head back to the car and start driving towards the beautiful city of Bath. I always knew that I couldn't go on forever like I have been. What I am trying to teach is that the cause of all our suffering and disagreements lies in the belief that the cure exists at the end of righteousness or pleasure, respectively. By devoting myself to righteousness, I was able to find the intellectual solution precisely by not living the real solution. For the solution lies in balance, in not becoming addicted to any one side of duality. All of this is explained in my most recent videos for those who are interested, but the point is that I pursued righteousness purely to bring back answers I could share with the world, but I knew that I was hurting myself in the process. The problem is that I feel I could forever bring back more answers. I feel that there are more insights to be gained, and it is incredibly hard for me to decide to turn my back on everything I have worked so hard to reach already. It is a genuine addiction. Yet I also know that I cannot be the teacher I aspired to be if people have no real cause to trust what I say. I know that I cannot teach through words and reason alone. One can only teach through action. I arrived to where I'd be staying at around 11 p.m, and I was tired, but I was even more hungry. I should have really bought dinner at the pub, but I was trying to save money. So, naturally, I rented an e-bike and cycled into the city to find a McDonald's. Unfortunately, the e-bikes stopped working at midnight, so I had to wait for a bus that would take me back, and I ended up getting to sleep pretty late. I slept really poorly, so I was still tired in the morning. Honestly, yesterday I was feeling kinda anxious about doing this whole thing, probably because most of the time I live like a hermit that works at a computer all day, and this is something very different. But as I start walking, I start to feel a lot better. Today I'm planning to do a long walk. I don't want to think too hard about where exactly to go, so I took out a map of Bath, drew a big circle around it, and decided that I would see how closely I can follow that circle. The reason I'm sneaking up here is because I'm trying to stay on my circle, so I'll be doing weird stuff like this a few times on this walk.
Bath is a city nestled amidst rolling hills, and historically has proffered the therapeutic allure of its eponymous waters, a legacy spanning centuries, and one that distinguishes it as the paragon of spa towns throughout the United Kingdom. Long before the Romans built baths and temples in this valley on the River Avon from the year 60 AD, the hot springs had long been known to the native Britons. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Bath was at the apex of societal prominence, for the act of partaking in its mineral-rich waters was seen not merely as an indulgence, but as a curative rite. Individuals from every strata of society converged upon the city, imbued with an unwavering belief in the salutary properties of its famed thermal springs. It was widely held that these waters possessed the miraculous capacity to alleviate a panoply of ailments, a notion that engendered an unprecedented surge in the consumption of this mineral elixir. Yet the waters of Bath were mineral-rich indeed, and this bestowed upon it a flavour that was robustly metallic, evocatively earthy, and distinctly sulphuric, a sensory combination that was an acquired taste, to say the least. Visitors, steeled by the promise of good health, thus endeavoured to quaff the bittersweet draught, only to find their faces contort into grimaces that eloquently conveyed the duality of their experience, a collision of the pursuit of wellness with the visceral reality of tasting something that might be better suited to metallurgy than to medicine.
Most of the walk has been uphill so far, and I was a bit tired here, so I sat down for a short break. When I started walking again, the heavens had opened, as they tend to do in England, and it started to rain. Here's another shortcut, and I genuinely almost completely slid down this hill. I found a cool tunnel that was an old railway line. Apparently it's 4 miles long, but it wasn't on my circle, so I didn't go through it. The reason I've set out on this journey is twofold. First, I've been working tirelessly, literally all day, every day, for many years. I am completely exhausted. Actually, I was completely exhausted years ago, but I have kept on going because I have had a mission. But now I am reaching a point where I have done much of what I can. It is up to the world to respond to what I have offered, and there is no use in torturing myself, trying to get others to listen if they do not want to. The second reason is simply that I feel that I should do this. I have a feeling I cannot quite describe that is telling me that the time has come, I need to make a change, and that taking this short break is the first step on this new journey. I eventually make it into the city, and I was very hungry, so I visit another shop that's likely going to be a regular on this trip, Greggs, the UK's most celebrated producer of sausage rolls and pastries. And today, the sausage rolls were on point. I walk past the Roman baths towards the cathedral, and as I watch these street performers, I notice the bloke next to me is staring at me. I look at him, and he looks away. And then again, he stares at me. I look at him again, and he looks away. Now, sometimes in England, this kind of engagement is enough justification for a bout of fisticuffs, but I'm way above such pettiness, so I decide against my primal urges and leave. By the top of this here hill, I had become rather warm, so I took off my jacket. It was only then that I realised that I had bird poop all down my right shoulder. I suppose this must have been why that chap was staring at me before. This is a strange sport we play here in England called cricket. How it works is that one team sits on the side watching while two of their players hit a leather ball with a wooden bat. The other team stands around in a certain arrangement, ideally in the sun, hoping that the ball will come to them so that they can throw it back. It truly is an exhilarating watch. I finish my loop, this is how it looked on Strava, and get back to my car just as it starts tipping it down with rain. I don't know where I'm heading next, I just know that I eventually need to make my way towards London.